Well, tēnā koutou katoa. Hi, everyone. Welcome if you are here in person or if you're just watching this video afterwards. My name's Stephen Moe. I haven't met all of you yet, but I'm really excited that you're involved in the Seeds Impact Conference in some way. Definitely can't do these things in isolation and appreciate everybody for your support. So in this session, it's going to be fairly short and simple and sweet, in the sense of, I just want to tell you a little bit about how I think it's going to work out based on a similar conference that we did a couple years ago. And then I'd love to have any questions from you. So you can either use the chat. We all know how to use the chat function these days. You can put a question in the chat, or you can come off of mute and ask me a question, and we can have a bit of back and forth and discussion. So that's my plan. So yeah, it's, as of today, 18th of September. So the 5th of October will be rolling around really quickly. And what, maybe just before I get into the detail, the heart behind this is that I want to challenge people with different perspectives. Too often we get into silos of thought, and we end up talking to people who kind of think like we think, or are experts in the area that we're experts in. And I think that's a real danger. So this is an example of a conference where I want people to be surprised at the diversity of speakers and content, and that they'll go from room to room and feel really challenged and energized by the energy that all of you are bringing to your respective works. So that's kind of the, I guess, the underlying reason of why hold a sort of online conference like this. And then the background to it is, as lots of you know, I've been doing Seeds now for about 6 years, a podcast, and just interviewed, well, episode 366 just came out. So I see all these ideas out there among my guests. And so many of the people who are going to be involved were former guests or people I've recognized. It'd be great to hear their perspective on the day. So that's sort of how the selection has happened, and curating the content of a diverse range of people. So one thing that you can be grateful of is that this isn't the first time that I've ever done this before. So if you go back to 2020, in April of 2020, you might remember lockdowns were happening. And I had been planning an in-person Seeds conference event. And so we had to switch it. And some of you on the call, I see Erica there, was a great big supporter of that initiative. There's some others involved. And we kind of made an online conference. We had 350 people sign up with only 2 weeks notice. And it was held across 6 different Zoom rooms. And essentially, if you went to a conference and there's breakouts, you know how you could choose, well, I'm going to go into that room over there, or I'm going to go into that room over there. It's the same concept, just online. So what we'll have in this session, or at this conference, will be 4 different rooms. So people will be able to look at the schedule and say, well, I'd really love to hear about that particular topic. So I'm going to click on Zoom link number 1, and at 9:45, I'm going to listen to that. And then the next session is coming up. Oh, okay, I'd really like to go to Zoom room number 2. So they don't have to stay in the same room. They can be moving. And in fact, they may vote with their feet. They may decide halfway through that they want to now switch over, and I want to go hear what Shamabil is talking about with poverty and the economy. And they might jump from that, and they might go over here. So the point is, it's quite a fluid thing. And one thing is, never be offended if people go up and down. Like, there might be some at the start that decide they're going to move. So that's the essential style, is that every participant will be sent links. They'll be able to look at the program and say, I want to listen to that person at that time. And then the next session will come. I'm going to click a different link, or I'm going to stay in the same one. And so what there will be is an ongoing rolling session times. They'll all start and end at the same times, so that there will be a minute or 2 for people to jump from this room to that room. And I'm also going to be having a host for each room so that the host will be there to kind of usher people in and say, hi, everyone, welcome. This session is blah, 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 and we're starting in 1 minute. And okay, we're now starting, and hand it over to the person who's leading the session. So that's kind of the essence of how it's going to work. I mentioned there's 4 Zoom rooms. 3 of them will be having content in the sense of a panel discussing or a speaker talking about a particular thing. Actually, I think all of them are panels in some way. But one room, we're calling it the community room. And the community room, we're really lucky that Natasha Zimmerman, who I think is on this call, so she is going to step in and be leading that room. She then will have people who are supporting her. And the point of that room is that I really don't want this conference or this experience to be a purely online, I watched a screen for 6 hours or whatever. I want there to be the opportunity for people to say, the content's been great, but I want to interact now. I want to actually connect with a real person. So we're designing the community room. And Natasha, maybe in a minute, I'll let you say anything that you want to about it. But the intention behind it is that people can go there and they'll be asked some questions, maybe provoking some thinking, maybe getting some discussions. For some of it, maybe they'll be sent to breakouts with maybe, 3 or 4 people that you'll actually get to talk to somebody. And then the next session, there will be a bigger group discussion, so it'll be kind of different. So the actual fact is there'll be 3 rooms running all at the same time with the sessions. And then one of them will just be going all day long that you can dive into. So after you've done your panel, you might say, well, I don't really feel like listening to a panel, but I'd love to go and connect with one of the other people. And that will be the space to do it. So what we're trying to do is bring the best of in-person to an online experience. And I think we can acknowledge that we're learning how to do this. But I'd like to think that this conference will be something that all of you and all the participants leave at the end of the day and say, that was worthwhile. And I actually got something, and I made a human connection, and I feel like I can actually maybe start a conversation with somebody that I met or take it forward. So that's just to give you the overview of how it's going to go. And there will be, at the very beginning of the day, there will be a room where everyone will be invited to join. So that could be a couple hundred people in the one room, and we'll have a welcome and a karakia and a kind of, here's, centering us for the rest of the day. But then for those of you who are leading panels or you're talking, essentially you'll have a slot. Some of you have 30 minutes, some of you have 45 minutes. So maybe have a look at seeing the first 3 in the morning, those are 30-minute slots. And then the rest of the day, they're 45-minute. And I've hopefully communicated with at least one of you who can be kind of the leader of your panel. And then it's up to you how you want to run it. I'm very happy if you want to just we're going to start having a discussion, or you might say, well, we're going to talk 5 minutes for each person, and they're going to outline their thought about a topic. And then we're going to have Q&A or, discussion. Or some of you might say, well, we're going to pre-prepare our talk, and we're going to, have it almost read out like a speech. So it's totally up to you. Hopefully as dynamic as and interesting as possible. That's always a plus. But that's essentially how it's going to run through the day. So, and then towards the end of the day, at the very end, there will be a chance to gather everybody back in the main room again. So one of the Zoom licenses will be able to take up to 1,000 people. So we'll gather everybody and just have okay, we're finished now. We'll end the day with the karakia, and we will be able to move on. So that's the essence that I wanted to get across. I've obviously communicated it relatively quickly, but that's the basic gist of how I see the day running. I should say as well, some people will be asked to be technical. So there'll be a host of the room and there will be an IT person who will be there to help mute, or if somebody wanted to show slides, hopefully making them a co-host or allowing that to happen. But those are the two roles. And then I'm still working out, it depends if I can get enough volunteers, but I think it would be kind of good if there was like a social media sort of person for each of the rooms to be doing posts throughout the day about, we're about to hear from this person, or we just heard from this person and here was the top 3 things. And then just so it's clear, we are going to record it, because I've already had people sign up who say, I can't attend on the day because I'm traveling or whatever reason. But the recordings will then get edited and they'll be put up so that it's an ongoing resource. Because remember, if you were in room number 1, that means you missed out on 2 other sessions that you potentially wanted to hear. So it will be a way to get the content out afterwards. And if you're running a session, then that's something you can then share later and make sure that more people are able to access and appreciate the content. So yeah. So those are kind of the key points, I guess, that I wanted to convey to you all. Does anybody have any questions? Or I might actually, Natasha, I might ask you to say something about that, like, community room, and maybe the rest of you can think of any questions or things that you want to clarify. Natasha, anything you want to say about that room?
Yeah, I think you did a great job of summarizing it, Stephen. And so exactly like Stephen said, that room will be open throughout the day. And so we'll be running sessions in there similar to what's happening in the other rooms, but different in the sense that they'll be more interactive. So we will be using some of the social psychology research to put out some exercises that people can get involved in, and pose some questions that are designed to get people into meaningful conversation. And we did a similar thing at the last unconference, and I have to say I was maybe a little bit skeptical going into it, because that was the beginning of the pandemic and we hadn't really done a whole lot in online spaces. But I was so impressed actually with how quickly people were still able to drop into those good conversations and how eager people were for those touch points. So I think we had some good proof of concept last time around, and I'm really excited to continue it again. So it's a good, I think, as Stephen mentioned, it's a good respite if you've gone to a couple sessions and you're like, right, my brain is full, time to connect with some people, get into some interesting conversations. This will be the space for that.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd love to turn to any questions that people have. Also, some of you haven't yet told me who your panelists will be, which is fine. But if you can let me know, that would be great, because then we can update the website. And I just checked on Humanitics, and it's up to 281 people who've registered so far. So there's still, basically 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks to go. Can I put a little plea out, which is I'm telling my networks the best to my ability on LinkedIn and things. It would be very much appreciated if you are able to post about the session that you're hosting, or I'm looking forward to this event, you should check it out. That type of thing really helps, because obviously my networks have already seen all my LinkedIn posts, and it's going to get saturated at some point. People are going to be like, stop posting about it. But it really helps if other people post, because obviously, it's like a spider web of connections that you'll know people that I don't know yet. So that would be appreciated. I'll put in the chat the best link for doing that, which is just Seeds Conference. It just brings up a nice orangey type of graphic, and it's kind of distinctive. So that would be great. So I'll just put that in, and then I see there's a question there. So Noah said, just to confirm, speakers will have Zoom permission to share their screens while presenting. Yeah, I think they will. Maybe let me know if you want that, because then we'll need to give that permission to the person at the start of the session. But I don't see any reason why that can't be done. I mean, part of it though is I would encourage you to not use as much text screen type, displays. I feel like sometimes that becomes the focus instead of what the person actually has to say. So maybe just use it sparingly, but it's no problem. But let me know so that we can make sure that the tech person has made the right arrangements. All right. And then let's see, Tony's saying a very practical question. My panelists and I should just ensure we dial into the room a few minutes prior to our session and someone will introduce us. That's exactly right. So the key thing is that you'll need to know which room you're going to be presenting in, because there will be 4 different rooms. So that would be kind of, it won't work if you go to the wrong room. So I'll do my best. This is kind of my focus for the next 2.5 weeks. I'll try to communicate as much as I can, but that's where I do need some of your help to make sure that people know where they're going. And the other thing is that I'm communicating usually with one person who then there's 2 or 3 other people. So I don't always have the emails for all of the panelists. I think we're up to probably about 75 or 80 different panelists. So it's going to get difficult for me without your support. So I need you to be the liaison, the practical side of, for in your case, Tony, letting Kyla know, letting Mitchell know, letting Joe know that, hey, this is what's happening. I'll do the best I can, but I know I need your help with that type of thing. And thanks in advance. That Kia session is going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Kyla actually spoke at the first conference, so it's nice legacy that she's coming again. Pete said, just wanted to check if you have an idea of which room individual hosts will be responsible for. I haven't allocated them yet, Pete, but I know that you're down to be a host, so don't worry. I have a spreadsheet. I just haven't sent it to you yet, but I'll do that very soon. Yeah. Noah says, how early before the scheduled session should the speakers arrive? When will we get told what room? I think probably looking at the schedule, usually 10 minutes before is a wise timing, just to make sure that you're in the right room. So yeah, that's what I'd be suggest. And I'll send you the links out in advance. I haven't got all the room links. So basically, Ministry of Awesome are giving one room link. Canterbury University is giving one, which I'm grateful for. Pete has got one which can get 1,000 people in it, so that's really good. I've got my own one, and then it'll either be Christchurch NZ or another. It could be Akina Foundation. Just working out which. So it's details like this, right? But there's different licenses. Some licenses allow 100 people, some allow 300 people. So I need licenses that allow 300 people, on the basis that we'll probably end up with about 400-ish participants. So at any one time, we might have 75 in one room, but we might have 120 here, or, it's going to fluctuate. Yeah. Yeah, and Pete, you said, will support be responsible for keeping an eye on room admissions? Yeah, I'll have to talk with you about that, Pete, because we may need multiple people to be letting people in, especially at the beginning. This is a high trust model of conference. If people wanted to, when they get the links, they could forward it on to their friends, and their friends could get in for free and not have to have registered. But I am doing it on a high trust sort of model. To be honest, and actually you're welcome to tell people this, I'm not doing this to make money. The reason that I've charged people $20 is to get buy-in, that they actually show up, because my past experience is if you make something free, people don't value it. But having said that, if you know someone and $20 is a barrier, on the sign-up form, there's a thing that says apply for scholarship. And that actually means they're going to get a free entry. So I'm not actually going to be vetting like who gets a scholarship and who doesn't. It's just whoever clicks that button is going to get in. Because the point of the thing is I want more ideas to be shared and spread. So yeah. But Pete, let's talk. And in fact, tonight when I'm speaking to your UCE and Entree students, we can share about that in person. Yeah. So yeah, Natasha, great logistical question, the start and the end time for the day. So on the conference website, we have a program. If you go to speakers, then there's like a PDF which sets out all of the times and when people are speaking. So that's what we'll be using and we'll be updating. And a shout out to Jamie Small. I'm not sure if he's on this call right now, but behind the scenes, he's the one who's providing a lot of support to update that document. And he's the one who's been helping me with the website to make it look beautiful. So he's from a company called WordShop, which do some amazing work with copywriting and website design and things. So I'm very grateful for his support. Yeah. And then Erica, thanks, Erica. Where can participants find the code of conduct? Who is our well-being ambassador? See, that's a great question. I'll need to take it offline and talk to you. You probably know that I have a full-time job as well as doing this. So there's going to be things like that that I haven't yet pulled up. But you're right. We had that last time and we should have it again. You're absolutely right. All right. And then Noah said media or links. I think it's mainly that these links that are being shared, which is the website. I think the website's probably the easiest thing. You could share the Humanitics link, which would take them directly to the tickets, but the website is probably, a good one as well. Cool. And yeah, thanks some of you. I know you've been joining as I've been talking. So I see you there, KP from the IOD. So thank you for joining. Great to see you. I'm recording it, so I'm going to send a link around afterwards, just in case you want to go back and have a listen. But essentially, if anybody has questions, you can just call me at any time or email me. I'll just put my number in the chat. Let's see, is there any other question? Has anybody do you want to come off of mute and ask a question? I'll take that as a compliment that we're answering all the questions. Cool. One other thing I wanted to make sure that you all ensure happens or that you do is I want you to have fun and I want this to be an enjoyable experience. I don't want this to be a drudgery or like, oh, I have to do this. I want this to be like an exciting thing. And some of the people who will be joining are literally at the start of their careers. Like they are brand new. Some of them are in high school. We've got Terry Shubkin on the line here from Young Enterprise. And so there's going to be people who are involved in that. You know, they're 16, they're 17, they're 18. They've never thought about some of the concepts that you're going to be sharing. So I guess just remember that, like, let's make this fun, let's make this enjoyable, and let's make sure that people realize that having an impact and thinking about deep things is possible. You know, like we want to encourage that. So just don't forget to have fun with your session and interacting with each other. And let's not make it too heavy. Let's try to have an enjoyable time as well. Having said that, I know some of the topics are heavy, but you get my point is, Shamobile, when you're discussing poverty and the economy and talking with Helen, the Auckland City Missioner, there's ways that we can do that will make it interactive and attractive for people to grasp the concepts. The other thing is I'm really happy during the sessions, use the chat to promote your own initiatives or websites or encourage people to follow you or, connect in other ways or shout out everyone, you should make sure you go to this or do that. Like, I want this to be more than a one-off thing. I'd love it if people actually came together after it and were involved in new initiatives or realized that they should go check out the Mind Lab and maybe do one of their courses, with Francis Valentine, who's going to be sharing, or, get involved in some way with a group that they didn't know anything about before. So, yeah. All right. Have we got any remaining questions? Well, a short meeting's a good one. So that's pretty good, 27 minutes or so. I guess the final thing I want to say is thank you all so much. You know, I definitely can't do this without people like you who are willing to jump in. I think we're at a stage in our society and you know where we are is we've got to collaborate more, we've got to work together more, we've got to get out of our silos of thought. So this is going to be one example of that I hope will inspire other things to happen as well, because you know it's going to be a success. I think it's going to be awesome. And if you're willing, then it's getting into lots of newsletters that people have right now. So that's been really great because that's a way for it to get out. But like I said, for some of you who joined later, it would really help if you post about it. If you tag me in, I'll reshare it onto the Seeds Impact Conference LinkedIn page or Facebook page or whatever platform you're using. And let's see if we can ramp up and get a few more people attending. I'm happy, like I said, if you want to say, hey, I've got 5 scholarship tickets available because I'm speaking, let me know and I'll tell you how to get in for free to this upcoming event. That's fine. Like, it's basically, I'm open to any ideas that you have to help get the word out now, and help more people to be able to attend it. And then the last thing is I'm about to publish this little book called The Apple Tree. So I can't help but cross-sell it to all of you in the sense of you might not have heard of it, but be watching out. On the day, I'm going to be in conversation with Sean and Carl, talking about that book and books in general. So that's going to be a really fun session on the day itself. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to hit stop on recording. And then just in case someone has any questions that they didn't want to have recorded, I'll stick around for a little bit longer.